Welcome to the Baller Boyz podcast. They're all about sports, and more sports. And now, the Baller Boyz, Mark and Shemaya.
Hello, and welcome back to the Baller Boyz podcast. It's your boy, Mark, but as you all know, or if this is your first time listening, let me introduce you to my awesome co-host, the SOTB, the music man with the plan, Shemaya.
Yep, the blue wave, man, blue Twitter in the house.
You know, we do this after we get back from work, and we like to have fun with it and have a good time. And we thank you for dedicating your time to listening to some wannabe sportsters just talk about what they love. And Shemaya, we got ourselves a big NFL topic today because we are smack dab in the middle of the NFL season. We've got NBA action going. The World Series just wrapped up. Congratulations to those Houston Astros. But we're going to talk some NFL, and it's a pretty hot topic right now. Our topic for today is the biggest letdown in the NFL. Now, what we mean by this is that NFL team that has just seemingly collapsed, that has just gone beyond all expectations in the worst possible way. So with that being said, it's funny because Shemaya and I, we agreed on this topic, but he stated the team that he believed is the biggest letdown in the NFL this season. And the more I thought about it, he's right on that freaking money. So Shemaya, you kind of brought this topic on here, man. So with that being said, why don't you do us the honor and introduce us to the biggest letdown in the NFL this season?
Well, it's the Packers. Just getting right to the point. And one reason is because when you lose, man, this is going to be hard to say. When you lose to Detroit Lions, you know, you only scored 9 points.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. Detroit Lions, I mean, if you just look at where they stand, I mean, they're not even standing, they're sitting dead last NFC North. And that shouldn't be a surprise. But guess who else is in the NFC North? Somebody called the Packers.
Yep.
I mean, am I wrong? Or then the NFC East some way, somehow? You know, like, that's the biggest letdown. Because when you look at the starting quarterback, I don't even want to say his name right now, but number 12, it's like, what happened? We had all this hype, making the deal. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the front office was more hyped than he was. Because this season is not going the way a lot of people, I think, thought it would go. I think a lot of people were expecting the Packers to be like, you know, on fire, motivated. And let's be fair, they're not terrible. You know, they did beat Tampa Bay. You know, they lost to the Chiefs preseason, but they did lose to Vikings. That was the first game of the season kickoff. They did beat the Bears. They did beat the Patriots, but they lost to the Giants. They somehow magically lost to the Jets. And let's not be too cruel, right? The Jets, they're not as bad as they look. You know, they actually won 6 games so far this season. So what I'm getting at is it's almost a hot mess. Like, Packers, they're not completely, like, terrible, but for what their standards usually, you know, is recognized as, is pretty terrible. The season's not over, so I'm hoping that the Packers can get some kind of, like, redemption, right, and win the rest of the games maybe. That's very wishful thinking at this point.
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying, it's wishful thinking.
He's not, like, out.
Oh, he's not. But the way they are losing, you know, is a big letdown. Because when you lose the Detroit Lions, that's when we need to hit the alert. We need to really have an emergency meeting.
Yeah, 9 points against the Detroit Lions, who, by the way, have one of the worst defenses in the league this season.
And they're dead last in NFC North. So it's like they have a scary situation, because if they lose the next game and Detroit Lions wins their next game, then they're tied with their record. I mean, excuse me, they're not tied with the record, but Detroit Lions will tie them with the winning record so far this season. They'll get their third win, and Packers will get their seventh loss. So, man, it's deflating if you lose to the Detroit Lions, especially number 12. That's just not cool, man. I mean, he's probably going to hear this episode say, what a big idiot this guy is talking. He don't even know how to throw a football. So, well, you might be right there, but anytime you lose the Detroit Lions, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I mean, and their schedule doesn't get any easier. So this weekend they play the Cowboys, then they play the Titans, then they play the Eagles, the number one ranked team in the NFC right now. Then they play the Bears, and then the Rams, which the Rams suck this season, but their defense is still like top 10. The Dolphins, the Vikings, and then they close against the Lions, who they just only scored 9 points against. So it's not like the Packers have an easy road ahead of them. They have some heavy hitters coming up on this schedule.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, NFC North, they're second place right now. The Vikings are ahead of them, but the problem is Packers got to get it together. Because can you imagine what the offseason is going to be like? And what the locker room is going to be like?
Oh, I'm sure the locker room's a mess right now, man.
Well, it's not as bad as the Panthers. But it could be. It could become as awkward watching the Panthers play. Panthers are not, well, they are kind of bad. I mean, I'm trying to think of something good to say about the Panthers. Well, one thing I can say.
You don't have to reach that deep for it.
Yeah, I can't. I'm gonna leave that one alone. Packers don't want to be looking like the Panthers. They're gonna have to really dig in and find ways to get some wins, because it's just where you go from here. I mean, it's sad, man.
It really is. And I think the three saddest teams to watch this season, they all have veteran quarterbacks. It's the Packers, the Buccaneers, and the Rams. All three of those teams are just sad to watch. Yeah, but we won't talk about all three of them, but because we're here to focus on Green Bay and the Packers. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I am frustrated. I'm pissed. I'm sure that entire locker room is frustrated right now. And teams, by the way, teams that have beaten the Packers, like you mentioned, like we just said, the aforementioned Detroit Lions, and the four who are 2-6, and the 4-5 Washington Commanders have beaten them, who are a complete mess right now as well. And they're somehow only 4-5, but still, bad teams have beaten this Packers squad. And I had to look some of these numbers up. Like, I'm just curious, like, how are the Packers losing these games?
Interceptions.
They are throwing more interceptions than usual. A-Rod has thrown more INTs. But here's another big thing. So I looked up some numbers here. The Green Bay offense hasn't scored more than 27 points at all this season. So they have a real problem in the air. And I think, we had talked with Rudy from like Unsweep the League, we had talked about how the Devontae Adams departure was going to affect this team, and we are seeing it right now. I personally think that had the Green Bay Packers found a way to keep Devontae in Green Bay, they would probably be the best team in the NFC right now. We're seeing, and it's not like the Packers don't have competition in their own division. We got the Vikings, who've only lost one game. The Bears are starting to turn it around a little bit. The Lions, they have one of the worst defenses in the league, but their offense can light it up when they're healthy. So Green Bay can't sleep on any of these teams. And that's the problem you have when you are a struggling team. You can't take any game for granted. That's what this Packers team has shown me. There's no consistency with this team, Shemaya. I'm not seeing it at all. You can't count on them to win a should-win easy game. You can't even depend on them to beat like a middling team because they'll find a way to lose, or they will beat that team. It's a coin flip. It's a coin toss with this squad. And I just want to run through a few numbers here. So their offense, they have the 12th best offense in the league, but they are 26th in fewest points. So they don't score that many points, which is why I also mentioned the 27. They haven't scored more than 27 points at all this season. They have the 29th fewest rushing touchdowns. So they're also not scoring touchdowns in the red zone enough, and in general. So even though they do have the 12th best offense, there are some numbers here that kind of differentiate from that title. And again, this team is all about looking through the cracks. And the defense, though, here's the thing. So the defense I knew was going to be the cream of the crop going into the season for this squad. I thought they were going to be better than the offense for sure going forward. Their defense is 17th best overall, so somehow their offense is actually ranked higher than their defense. They do allow the 4th fewest passing yards, which is really good. I mean, I had kind of expected a number like that, a ranking like that for this defensive squad, but they allow the 28th most rushing yards. So if you're a running team like the Philadelphia Eagles, the Vikings, the Cowboys, the Niners, all those teams are vying right now for a Super Bowl appearance, and they can all run it down your throat. And if you're a team that has a defense that can't defend against the run, you're not going to get it done. And this Packers squad is one of those teams. So as we just read, man, there are some cracks on this team on both sides of the ball. And, as you mentioned before, A-Rod's throwing more INTs, but I think that's because they're missing a massive playmaker in a Devontae Adams, just that go-to guy. And it would have been nice for them to have traded for like a DK Metcalf in Seattle, or even a Brandon Cooks, or some weapon, or even just take a shot on Antonio Brown. I mean, I know he's not a popular name right now for good things, but I mean, the Packers got to be in desperation mode right now. They can't afford to lose many more games. We were just talking about the Rams a few weeks ago and how they're in a predicament where they are in trouble, and they're still in trouble. And they need to turn it around quickly. And thankfully for the Buccaneers, they are in a really bad division where all the teams in that division are struggling. So they will probably end up getting in the playoffs by default. But even they're not guaranteed that spot because, they've just been inconsistent as well. So this Packers team has shown and proven that they are the definition of inconsistency.
I mean, we're headed to week number 10. As you mentioned before, they're playing the Cowboys, and they have some issues, man. We have a rookie receiver, Romeo, who suffered a high ankle sprain in the last game. And those injuries are not like a 2-day injury. In 3 days, it's not like, oh yeah, it's back to normal. It's perfect now. It's gonna take a little bit more time than that to heal and get to 100%. So we'll see what happens. We'll see the time frame of hopefully he gets back healthy. But high ankle sprains, man, it's not going to be a quick, 3-hour recovery. It's a little bit serious. I mean, it can be, 4 to 6 week return. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be a missing piece. And then there was another injury with one of their players. Aaron Jones is the other one. That's not going to be good. You're missing people who add, value to the team. That's not good. So Aaron Jones, I think it was his ankle. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, you're good. Yeah.
He obviously was in some kind of pain in the third quarter. So it's like, it's just tough to be in that situation. And playing the Cowboys, they're not a terrible team. Obviously, they have been pretty impressive. I wouldn't say elite, but I would say they're impressive. You not having all your players healthy, it's going to make that game a lot more tricky. So maybe they'll be able to pull through. But with those two players I just mentioned, Romeo and Aaron, it's just going to make their game more difficult. And we'll see what they can come up with. That's the best way I can see. I think the Cowboys will win. That's just my opinion, but we'll see if Rodgers can dig in and be that superhero. We'll see if it's an S or if it's a Z on the chest.
Yeah, I personally think the Cowboys are going to pull that out. I don't. Again, it's just hard to trust this Packers team. Aaron Rodgers can only do so much, and they didn't do enough to replenish his weapons at the receiver position. They didn't even get close to replacing Devontae Adams, like not even close. If there's one thing I do know about Rodgers and Brady is they need to establish trust with their receivers. Those are two guys, two very old school quarterbacks who firmly believe in establishing trust, rhythm, the same mindset as their receivers so that they can be on the same page, knowing the routes, knowing exactly where to throw the ball, knowing how the other guy can extend his arms to reach out for a pass, and understanding each other's space. And Rodgers and Brady need to understand their players' space. Well, Rodgers is throwing to, as you mentioned, Romeo Dubes is a rookie. Like he's throwing to a lot of guys. Christian Watson hasn't been on the field much. A lot of these guys, he just doesn't have too much of an established rapport with. And, you got to give props to Alan Lazard for trying out there. But Alan Lazard is not a number one. He is not even close to a number one wide receiver. And I think he did help Adams, and Adams helped him a lot with getting passes as well. But it is clear that this Packers offense, from a receiving perspective, is suffering drastically. And I think they were trying to rely more on the running backs this season, getting them more involved in the pass game, letting them run the ball more to get pressure off of Rodgers. But it's clear that teams feel, they could probably feel more comfortable stacking the box because there's not too many threats out there on the field. So you just got to plug up the trenches, plug up the middle, and make Rodgers throw to some of these guys that are not stars. I hate to put it that way, but they're not stars.
Yeah.
And there's no threatening name out there, like in the receiving core, that's going to scare defenses.
Well, Christian Watson is a rookie, another rookie on the team. He's going to have to step up in a big way as long as he's healthy. He has the ability. He is athletic, so he can show off his skill sets because he does have skills. He would be in the NFL if he didn't. So this will be a great opportunity for him to shine if he's healthy. I don't know if he is, going to have any setbacks from the Lions game? Because wasn't there like a scare of him almost getting a concussion or something? I could be wrong. But
yeah, he did have a concussion issue.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's like you hope that he's, in good shape because everyone's being careful now with those concussions and whatnot. So he can have an opportunity to kind of step up to the plate and have a big game. And him as a rookie, this would be a nice opportunity for him to kind of dig in and see what he can do. I mean, anytime you have someone like Rodgers as your quarterback, you can believe that magic can happen. Okay? If you're playing for the Panthers, I don't think that magic is anywhere near the locker room. But if you're playing for Aaron, I think you have a fighting chance to make something work. So it'll be an interesting game for the Cowboys. But if they don't see any sparks, I think the Cowboys, they potentially might blow them out. That's my prediction. But if the Aaron Rodgers can get things going, it could be a close game where they find a way to get on top and win. But if things are slow on the offense side, I think Cowboys going to have a field day. And they'll take advantage of the situation with the already not so healthy team for the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just kind of looking at the team records here. And I mean, in the NFC, like Green Bay is out of the playoff picture right now. The Rams are out of the playoff picture. The Cardinals are out of the playoff picture. I mean, we're talking teams that we expected to be in the playoff hunt, just out of it right now. And of course, there's a lot of season left to go, but there's a bunch of teams here that need to try and turn it around, and not all of them are going to. Green Bay is one of those teams. And it's kind of amazing that, like you mentioned before, they only have one more win than the Detroit Lions. And they're going to have to win, man, like most of these games. I don't even think they could afford to lose. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has to take everyone to dinner and say, hey, this can be the best rest of the season, or it could be a nightmare starting next game with the Cowboys. If they don't have the mindset that they don't want to win every game for the rest of the season, it's going to be a long, embarrassing situation for Aaron Rodgers. And it will beg the question, does he want to even play football after this season? I think so. I'm just saying, depending how it ends. If it ends really bad,
does he want to play for Green Bay?
That's what I was going to say. I'll clean it up. He definitely play football. He's not Tom Brady age yet, but he would probably want out without any negotiation if this season falls apart. It could be a miracle and they win every game, but they have to be mentally sharp and they just really have to trust each other to do something, because it's not like they're scrubs. That's the craziest thing about this whole conversation. We don't think of Green Bay as scrubs. We just don't. We think of Green Bay as a team that has enough talent to be in the playoffs every year.
Yeah,
so
they've proven that they're a model of consistency over the years. A consistent playoff team. Absolutely.
And that's why it fits the title for tonight, the most shocking team.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think they're going to get it done.
My gut says they won't. My heart says they will have the magic juice of Rodgers saying, you know what, I'm a superhero and we're going to, make everyone in America go crazy and say, wow, look at the Packers. But my gut is saying this can be a downhill, ice cream melting in hot lava type vibe. And
I'll put it this way. Yeah.
Time for him, real quick, it'd be time for Rodgers to leave Green Bay, if that's the case.
Yeah. I'll even go as far as to say this. I think they will not make the playoffs if they don't beat the Cowboys. If
I
they
agree.
do beat the Cowboys, I think they can make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think the morale will go to 0 or negative, like 100, if they lose to the Cowboys. Because how can you bounce back like you lost from Detroit last week, and then, God forbid, they lose to the Cowboys? That will mess up the whole locker room like vibe. Because it's like, how can you have a speech afterwards? Yeah. It's like, what could you really say?
I wanted to hear what the coach had to say after last week's game.
I don't think
what do you think he said?
I think he probably was like, "Hey guys, this is really not us. I'll see y'all next week because this is not us. This is not who we are." I can't see him doing motivation. You can't do a motivational speech after losing to Detroit Lions.
No, 9 points. Are you kidding me?
That's like varsity losing to JV. In high school. Like,
dude, that's like kindergartners losing to varsity, man.
I thought he was going to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought he was going to say like kindergartners losing to like ants or something.
Right. Actually, I messed that up. That's like varsity losing to kindergartners, man.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Offsides on every play.
Offsides on every player, yeah. I like that. Oh, man. But yeah, so do you think... So you think this Cowboys game is like the pivotal game of the season right now? Yeah, I agree too.
It's not just a pivotal game. It is the game that will determine the rest of the season. And that's the same thing as pivotal. That's funny. I just basically expanded that. But my point is, this is so crucial outside my comedy of funny dialogue. My point is, this is crucial for the organization. Like, they all really zero distractions, which they probably are doing it. Like, it's Captain Obvious. I feel like KD whisper in my ear, "Bro, you're not a pro athlete, so stay your lane." But it's obvious. But from a fan speaking, they really can't afford any kind of distractions this week. They better not be on social media. They better not be doing nothing. When you lose to Detroit Lions, you should have all your computers taken away from you until you start winning again.
Yeah. And, it's kind of interesting because I know earlier I was saying they can't afford to lose too many more games. I don't think they can afford to lose another game, period. Hopefully if they come away with this win over the Cowboys, they can't get comfortable. They have to keep playing the rest of this season like it's their last game because they got to win out. I mean,
one thing I will say is that Cowboys have any issues with penalties. That's what will allow Aaron Rodgers to sneak a win. So Cowboys, if they can avoid penalties, they will win hands down. But if they get any issues with penalties and give Rodgers a chance, then Rodgers will take advantage of that. And that will help the Packers get the W.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Cowboys have a track record of blowing big games by shooting themselves in the foot. Like you said, penalties, just dumb mistakes. So it's possible. This could be a game where they just give the Packers life because of those penalties. But we'll see what happens. I feel like these Cowboys have rallied a little bit. They are 6-2. They're riding high right now. They're not in a tough division. I mean, yeah, they have the Giants, but the Giants have been hampered by injuries all season. And the Cowboys, they beat them last time. The Eagles, we know they're the number one team in the NFC, number one team in the NFL at the moment. But, the Cowboys have a chance now with all of these NFC teams that we thought were contenders this season just collapsing out of the blue. The door is wide open for these Cowboys. So the Packers, they can't go in there thinking, oh, this is our game. Like, we're going to do this. They have to go in knowing that we're playing a motivated team now, a team that is benefiting because we are blowing it. Like, the Packers have to go in understanding these Cowboys have a 6-2 record and have a shot at the Super Bowl because we are floundering. We are 3-6. We should be 6-2. I mean, it's embarrassing. Like, they need to go in there with that mindset, with a humbled mindset. And I hope they are, because they have no other mindset to switch to than that. I would be embarrassed if I'm A-Rod and, that squad, that locker room, and I have that record because of all the expectations that were placed on us. But they got to go in there and with a humbled mindset, because they have to take everything in stride. They got to go in there and make the most out of every play. And I have a feeling they're not going to do that, because this Cowboys defense is legit. Micah Parsons is a beast. Diggs is a beast. They are not going to go easy on A-Rod. And I have a feeling A-Rod's going to throw an interception in this one. He's probably going to get sacked a few times. But yeah, I'm going to say, like, my pick, I got to go with the Cowboys in this game. And I think they shut down the Packers season.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys will take the opportunity and just be like, you know what? You can really, like, make this worse for Rodgers. I mean, they just lost to the Lions.
I like how you worded that. Yeah, we'll make them feel worse.
Because think about it, man. If you're the Cowboys, it's an easy game.
Yeah.
It's more pressure on the Packers. There's no pressure on the Cowboys. Yeah. Whenever a team loses to the Detroit Lions, can't get out, it's like, man, there's no pressure. Like, if you lose to them, then it's like playing Madden on easy mode, because there's no pressure on the Cowboys at all, and they might use that as confidence booster for them to just really perform lights out. So Aaron, he's going to have to be mentally prepared, which I know he will be. Like I said, I'm just a fan. KD, get out my ear, stop whispering, say I'm not an athlete. But my point is, they are going to have an exciting game. I think the game's going to be, like, exciting. I think if everyone shows up, like, ready to go, it should be probably a close game. But if the morale just deteriorates by halftime, then the Cowboys will probably blow them out. And you would hate to see that happen. But I think it'll probably be a good game to watch. And Cowboys will still find a way to sneak the win. But it all really depends on Rodgers, man. He has to be the leader. And he has to be like, hey, we had to set the tone early. We got to make the Cowboys fight and get them in some penalty trouble. Because it could very well be a unfortunate trend. And you can thank Detroit Lions for starting it. Because it'll be sad to say the season went downhill after the loss with Detroit.
Yeah, that would be pretty sad. I think the biggest key to that game is controlling the clock, at least for the Packers, controlling the clock and improving the run defense, because Dallas is going to try to run it down their throat. And the Packers defense is struggling in that run defense department. So if they can just boost that up a bit, that will give them some hope. But if they cannot control the ground, they are going to be in big trouble. And you talked about pressure. I want to close with this thought. You talked about how the Dallas Cowboys have no pressure right now going in, like, in this game. Absolutely none. I don't think they have to have pressure. All of the pressure is going to be on Aaron Rodgers in that Green Bay Packers team, because they know their backs are against the wall now. There is no leeway. I don't think there's any more room for them to lose any games. So this is a must win. And all of that pressure, I think, is going to get to them. Whereas, and I bring up this pressure point because remember when Cooper Rush was filling in for Dak during that run? Guess what? The Dallas Cowboys were expected by the media, by the public, to just lose all those games. And you know what they did? They showed them up. They proved them wrong because there was no pressure on them. No one expected them to win all of those games. And Cooper Rush and the rest of the offense just flowed naturally. They played well. They looked like they were having fun just playing football. It didn't look like guys who were getting paid and just showing up to collect a check. Those were guys who were enjoying themselves. And I feel like this Cowboys team can go into this game with that same mindset of we're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy ourselves. But the guys on the other side of the ball have a completely different mindset, and all of the pressure of the world is on them. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch. I think it'll be fun, but I do have the Cowboys winning and dashing the Packers' playoff hopes.
In front of their fans, too.
Yeah.
I think Cowboys are like, you know what? We can get this game. We can get the Vikings. We can probably get the Giants. You know what? We can probably get the Colts. And we can easily get the Texans. And we can get the Jaguars. And they're going to be looking for December 24th, Christmas Eve rematch with the Eagles. So, yeah, there's absolutely no pressure with the Cowboys right now. They just have to get through this one. And this could be a huge confidence builder for them to face other teams and focus on this rematch in Christmas Eve with the Eagles.
I can't wait for that one.
Excuse me. Because all the other teams, they're like beatable teams, especially the Texans. That's an easy win. So, yeah, this game, as it can be a pivotal situation for the Packers, it also be a pivotal situation for the Cowboys to gain momentum. And I don't want to sound like I'm a big Cowboy fan. I don't want Stephen A. Smith to tweet at me. I don't want him to be like, not so fast, Shemai. You sounded like you're a big fan over there. No, I'm just saying there can be a legit opportunity for the Cowboys to have momentum. I'm not guaranteeing that they will, but I'm just saying I think it's safe to say they can have a legit confidence booster if they beat the Packers to ride that wave and probably get some more wins down the road.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Either way, it's going to be a big game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. Lots on the line, a lot of different storylines going in. And of course, I think we just wrapped this up, man. The biggest letdown in the NFL. Of course, we're talking about the Green Bay Packers. There are a lot of teams that could fit in this category, but as of right now, in the middle of this NFL season, it's the Green Bay Packers, and it makes me kind of sad to say that because I'm a big Aaron Rodgers guy. I really respect what he does out there, and I think the organization as a whole has done a good job and as being a model of consistency. But this season is just not working out for them, and it's a shame. And of course, it's one of the most storied NFL franchises in the league. So it's always kind of sad to see that one of those traditional old school franchises that has seen so much success in the past just kind of flounder. But we will see what happens. I'm curious to see between the Packers, Rams, and Buccaneers, which of the three has the worst record by the end of the season. Because all three of those teams don't look that good right now, and don't even get me started with the Rams. But if you all do want to hear us talk about the Rams a little bit, we did cover them a few weeks ago, so go check that out. And with that being said, Shemai, I think we covered this topic pretty well. Thank you all for joining us here on the Baller Boys podcast. We come to you every week with sports, and more sports. We do this after work. We just we come in, this is our way of just venting and just talking after a busy work day. We got our ice, water, or beverage of choice, and we just enjoy, kick back, and have a good time with some sports. So thank you all for giving us your time. You can check us out. We're available on all podcast streaming services, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And so feel free to pick whichever one you want to go to and give us a listen. And like I said, we come to you every week with new topics. Hit us up on Twitter as well. Watch out for those check marks. Shemaiah, what's that Twitter handle?
Shimon, the BT, man, is easy. Hit me up and let's go.
You heard the man. Let's go. Baller Boys continue to ride. Follow me on Twitter as well at MarkTheMC, MarkTh 3 3s, no E's, capital M, capital C. Once again, thank you all for taking your time and listening in. Tune in next week when we talk about your favorite sports and more sports. Tell your mom, tell your grandma. Peace out.